And this is day 3 of my non-professional mini-series relating to Overwatch 101. Ah, this coffee is dynamite. So today, we're going to go over the support role. The first day, 2 days ago, we talked about the tank role. Yesterday, we talked about our DPS role. Today, we're going to talk about the support role. And we're going to talk about 101 and um, how to play the
Spend
support
every
position.
moment growing into who you truly are.
I've played more of the support role, I think, than probably any other role. During the tank discussion, I revealed that I have played very little tank. I just don't know a whole lot about it. I have very little experience, all in all. So this will be the opposite of that when I have a lot more experience with support. Um, as far as the amount of time I've spent playing it, again, I'm still hard stuck bronze 5. I'm an amateur by all accounts, not a professional by any means. So don't flame me in the comments like, wait a second, you're not a professional. How are you giving advice to things and what have you? It's advice maybe, but I guess more perspective and opinions. Just my experiences in bronze 5 matches. So a lot of the 101 that we went over for our tank and DPS roles definitely still applies for our support roles. Um, when you were tanking, your line of sights are important for where you're shielding or whom you're defending against, or how to absorb the incoming damage. When you're a DPS player, your line of sights are how you can do damage and get the eliminations to get that numerical advantage for your team. When you're playing a support character, your line of sight is primarily to your own team members. It's really important. One of the important components to this is that you need to be able to see your team members to be able to heal them. More often than not, there are some healing that can happen away from you or outside of your line of sight. But more often than not, it does require being able to see your own teammate to target them for those heals. The beauty of that is that you're targeting your own teammates who are not going to be shooting at you. You can stay behind cover. You don't even have to look at the opposing team. Yes, there are plenty of support characters that have capabilities to help do things to the other team to reduce their healing or things like that. Certainly. You will eventually have to look at the other team. But the beauty of being able to stay behind cover and focus on your team and stay out of the area where the rest of the opposing team can see you is awesome for supports. And it's a really important component to keep in mind. It is definitely a 101 to keep in mind that you should be trying to keep in cover. You should be trying to play your life, keep yourself alive, because you can...
Something for the sting.
We've already said it a couple of different times. If you're walking back from spawn, you don't do any damage, you don't do any healing, you're not offering anything to your team. You're not providing any support as a support character. You're not providing any defensive capabilities if you're a tank character, and you're not getting any eliminations walking back from spawn if you're a DPS character. So in this, the ability to sort of stay behind cover and try and make sure that your team is staying healthy and alive, that's huge. Playing around cover, which we've already talked about several times, is enormous. And for support characters, playing around that cover and keeping yourself alive so you can keep your teammates alive is a big component to winning team fights. If you're a support player, one of the things that's important for you to know is that the cover that you have, wherever it is you have it, is not always going to stay your cover. At some point in time, the opposing team, if they have any interest in winning a team fight, is going to send a flanker. There's going to be someone that's going to push in on your position as a support, and odds are it's going to be a DPS character. That's the most common flanking maneuver is not from a tank, is not from a support character. By far the most common flanker is going to be a DPS character. You're going to be standing in your
Feeling better, I hope.
cover and trying to make sure that your team is staying up. But at some point in time, you're going to get rushed. Someone's going to start shooting at you. They're not just going to let you sit there all day long and heal bot your team. That's not what they're going to do. In some circumstances, you'll get that chance, certainly, and you'll be able to stay behind cover and just keep healing. But oftentimes, teams are not interested in just sitting there and letting the supports just go full-blown heal bot and the tanks just bash one another over the head, and the DPS just keeps firing rounds into the tank and nobody dies. That's a never-ending team fight, and nobody wants that. Eventually, someone's going to say, you know what, I'm just going to move. I'm going to get a better position. I'm going to try and move around to the side. I'm going to try and take care of the support or what have you. When we're talking about Overwatch 101, playing the support role is not super easy. You've got to pay attention to a lot of things. You've got to pay attention to what your tank is doing, what their positioning is. If they're out in the middle of an area and they're trying to take space out here right next to this whole team, this opposing team, you're going to have to keep an eye on their health pool. You have to. As the support character, you're going to have to pocket them. Pocketing someone means you're staring at them. You're ready to heal, or you're throwing heals in their direction already. You're making sure that that one person or that group of persons directly there in front of you is staying up. You're just full-blown trying to make sure that person stays up. When someone on your team moves into a position where there's a chance that they could be targeted by one or more of the opposition, you have to pay attention to those health pools. Otherwise, there's a chance they could engage. One of your DPS could go on a flank. Sometimes, as a support character, you have to follow that DPS on the flank. They need support. They need health. If they don't immediately win the 1v1 on whomever it is that they're flanking, there's a chance they could just get gunned down. While they're flanking, they could have run into multiple opposing team members, and they'll likely need support. If you can manage to help them in that maneuver, that flanking maneuver, and they do manage to get the elimination with your support, then you've got a numerical advantage, and your DPS and yourself, if you followed them in there as that support player, are already in a position to offer more than one lane of fire, which is huge. I've seen it happen way too many times. One team sets up on one side, another team sets up on the other side, and everyone's just shooting back and forth. It's the same firing lanes, everyone's just shooting. All the defenses are all set up in front of them, everyone's just blasting. Well, if you go on the flank, there's a bit more of a chance that you're going to be able to shoot around shields, or behind shields, or someone that's not shielded, or somebody that's out of position, or what have you. That's for the DPS. For the support characters, it's our job to make sure that those folks stay in one piece. One thing that support players don't care for, even at the Bronze 5 level, even though it's a fairly common behavior, is people will say, hey, heals, I need you to do this, or we'll be called healers. Yes, we can provide more health for you. But we're support characters. We do more than just healing. I assure you. Defensive cooldowns, mobility cooldowns, all those things, whatever it is we can do to help empower our team. If our tank is in the middle of going in and we can see this is a bad engagement, the other team is all laid out, our tank is just going to walk in a main. What if I throw a pedal platform and help our tank suddenly take high ground and be more difficult to shoot? If our tank is up here and the rest of our team is still standing on the ground, then the opposing team have to determine, well, am I shooting at these folks on the ground, or am I shooting up at that tank? There's different targets. We can't all shoot all in one direction and just evaporate the entire opposing team. They have to aim in a different direction. For support players, we have to try and think of all those things. We're not just healing people, but we're empowering our DPS players and our tank to go in and take space, to go on the flanks, to get the eliminations. We're using, buffs and boosts and stuff on our team to try and help them survive in these team fights and get the eliminations so we have a numerical advantage. Let's see. With any of the characters, with any of the 101, when we're talking about support or any of the roles, we've mentioned it before that going into the practice range and learning your character's kit, understanding the kit, understanding the other characters is all incredibly valuable. If you're closed-minded as a support player and you think, well, I'm a Life Weaver main, I only play Life Weaver, that's just my thing. Okay. But if you never went into the practice range and practiced any other characters, any other supports, then there's a chance you won't understand your fellow support members' abilities. That's not good. If you understand their abilities, if you're playing with an opposing Ana, you're like, wait, I'm just going to throw a pedal platform here. My Ana can suddenly take high ground. That's huge. Ana doesn't have the ability to do that. But all of a sudden having an Ana on high ground that could just throw nades down on top of the enemy head, huge. Sleep darts from on high ground. Beautiful. Huge. It's awesome. Big value from a pedal platform, But you have to understand the kit for not just your own character, but for the other ones. If you're a support main and you don't ever go into the practice range and figure out any of the kits for any of the DPS characters, you're missing out by a lot. You don't understand that character's mobility, you don't understand their kit, their cooldowns, any of those things. Well, when a Genji dives you, you're just going to end up getting evaporated. You don't understand how to face that character, you don't understand how that character works, you're just going to get evaporated. So coming into the practice range and understanding all the different characters, understanding the different roles, understanding the different cooldowns and abilities and how they work, all of those things are really, really fundamental to being able to play the game at a base competency type of level. If you don't understand how all the pieces move and you don't understand the architecture of the level or the geometry, you're just sort of wandering around, firing at things, pressing random buttons, and it's not going to be nearly as effective as you taking the time to really put in the effort to understand the 101 on how all the different characters move, how they work. It's important. From a support perspective, with your cooldowns, with understanding other people's cooldowns, those all tie into some higher level gameplay situations where, your character is sort of a direct cancel out to another character. You have an ability that does exactly what is necessary in a situation to resolve it. For Life Weaver specifically, if I'm facing an opposing Orisa, which is kind of meta nowadays, and she uses her ultimate ability, all I have to do is throw a pedal platform right down below her. Everybody else is already trying to run away from her because that's how her ultimate works. And she's raised up in the air and using her ultimate up there. All the rest of my folks are on the ground. Her ultimate is entirely nullified because she can't move while she's doing that, while she's channeling that. That's just basic understanding of how that kit works. That's one example of understanding what's happening. You have to pay attention to all of those things, but the basic 101s of playing support require you to make sure you understand, again, the basic 101s of just playing the game. Make sure you're staying behind cover. Make sure that you have your line of sight to your team so that you can see their health bars, so that you can understand what condition they're in, what cooldowns they've used or are using. All of these things tie into being able to play the game competently, and as a support character, being able to help your team stay alive in those team fights and get that numerical advantage is the purpose of your character. That's the reason for that role. To be able to do it at a higher level, we have to understand all these basics. So many of these things tie into one another. Just understanding the movement. Oh, one of the dogs got upset. Just understanding the movement, understanding your cooldowns, what they're capable of, what sort of combinations you have with the rest of your team. That all just goes back to that sort of basic practice range, going out and understanding the different characters. What does the hard stuck Bronze 5 support main want other support players to know? Well, supporting your own teammates' support, supporting your other support member is enormous. It's huge. We've talked about the fact that if you keep your line of sight, the opposing team is less likely to see you. You still have line of sight on your folks. That's great. But is that opposing team really just going to let you sit there all day and heal bot? No, we've already talked about that. They're probably going to come in on a flank. Now, if I'm busy healing, trying to support my team, and all of a sudden there's a flanker that I didn't see, and I'm getting shot, that's a problem. I have to react to that. Odds are I'm going to have to turn away from the healing that I'm doing and address this problem. By the time I've turned back, my folks are very low on health. I might not even be able to heal them out of this. The incoming damage might be too much. I had to split my attention. Now, if there's another support character also standing here with me, they can help me. Either by trying to heal in my stead, because I've turned to look in a different direction, or them turning in the other direction and helping with that flanker. Getting help with a flanker when suddenly a Genji or a Tracer or something drops in on top of you and tries to eliminate you from that team fight is called getting peels, or peeling for someone. If you are a support character and you see your other support on your team being aggressed upon by a flanker or something, going over there and providing any form of support for them, shooting in that flanker's direction even, throwing some healing at your other support, any sort of help to peel that opposing character off of them is hugely beneficial, and it will make your opposing, or it will make your teammates smile. They will be very happy to have gotten any sort of help under those dire circumstances, I assure you. So support your supports. It's entirely okay for you to throw healing at your other support character, because if they're walking back from spawn, they can't help you or the rest of the team. If all of a sudden you only have one support character available on your team, that one person is the only person that can provide healing support for the team. Numerically, you're probably going to lose the team fight, especially if the other team has both of their supports. Something miraculous would have to happen for you to overcome those odds. So when you're playing support, definitely support your support teammate. There are all manner of ways to support your fellow team members. Understanding their movement and yours and the levels is a big key to making sure you're supporting them correctly. One of the other important components, especially from a Bronze 5 perspective, is when to move in and support your teammates and when not to. So let's paint this situation. Here's a picture for you. If our DPS is hiding back here behind cover with us, and suddenly they come out in this area to engage, and they just run right into the enemy team and start firing. They're just standing there with like 3 opposing team persons, and they're all blasting. If I go in to support that, there's all sorts of chances that I'm going to end up getting blasted, because that DPS, that player is probably going to get blasted. If it's a 1v3 and you're a DPS player, you don't have the health pool or the cooldowns to survive that for very long. If I ran in there with that DPS character to try and support them, I would probably end up getting toasted as well. If as a support player, especially while I'm playing this particular character, Life Weaver,
Some healing.
I happen to notice while I'm hiding behind cover, not with these, but I'm hiding behind cover. There's opposing team members and stuff out there, and I noticed one of my team members go in on really bad engage. They just ran right in. Then with Life Weaver specifically, I have the option to say, wait a second,
Stay
buddy,
here,
step out of the way of what just happened. If I'm watching them do that and I'm paying attention to their motion, to their movements, and I see one of my DPS players run all in and end up at half health within the first quarter of a second, yeah, I got to do something to help them because they've just gotten themselves in way too deep. They have no idea how badly it's going to go unless I manage to save them. And then they'll have time to actually think about that, or they're going to be walking back from spawn thinking about it. So knowing when to engage or empower with your support character is important. Movement. Huge, big, critically important. I'll go ahead and tell the story or the secret. I'm actually not just a support main, I'm a Zenyatta main. It's goofers because Zenyatta has never really been meta. Zenyatta has been kind of a meme sort of joke character for the whole time he's existed. There's always been all sorts of quirks and oddities about Zenyatta, and plenty of people just don't even care for him as a character. But in playing that character, movement, positioning, and things like that are hugely important because he's just so slow and his hitbox is enormous. Coming from that perspective, it helped me understand movement and positioning for all of the other characters, especially if they have more mobility than Zenyatta. I think my average deaths for Zenyatta after 200-ish so hours played is probably close to like 5.5. After 120-ish or so hours played on Life Weaver, my average deaths is below 2.5. He's just got way more escape mechanics individually for himself. It's just sort of a facet of the character being able to escape because they have those mechanics available, whereas other characters may not. So understanding your individual character, their kit, their mobility, their movement, and all those things, again, very important on a 101. When we're talking about movement, a lot of times, since we've already discussed, you're going to have cover. You want to make sure that those flankers don't just have the opportunity to run around the corner and blast you to pieces. My dog is barking quite a bit. Well, he sounds excited. We know that the flankers can show up around corners, but the other team aggressing and pushing into us is not the only reason that we'll have to move. Odds are you're not just going to take every single team fight from the exact same position. You're not going to step out of your spawn. There's the team fight. Everyone has to fight exactly there. Like, that's not how that works. The team fight is going to move. At some point in time, you're going to have to advance or move with your team. The term, I believe, that the Overwatch League professionals use is rotating. They're changing their position as a team together. So if our whole team is sitting here and we're trying to heal and we want to move out into this position and take this space, and we're getting ready for that engagement, and the tank is ready to move out, and all of a sudden one of the opposing players, or all of them, decide to use all their ultimate abilities and make this entire area, up to and including the cover that we had, just a dead zone. Like, if you stay here, you're going to end up dead. Our team has to move collectively out of the way of that. Let's say a Diva ultimate. The Diva tank ultimate is a giant, very large AoE explosion. If you can see the explosive item, you're probably dead. You have to get around cover. So a Diva bomb ultimate lands here, and our entire team is exposed. Our whole team has to move out of that cover. We're rotating around the map now. We're moving into a different position. This is an important thing to understand. Now, when you're rotating with your team as a support, as a super low-level Bronze 5 hard-stuck support opinions, when you're rotating with your team, any of that movement out of the cover that you've already got is dangerous. There's a chance that when you move from that Diva Bomb, the opposing team is already over here waiting for you because they knew you would have to move out of the way of that bomb. There's all manner of chances that they're already waiting for you. So instead of just running blindly in a panic, try not to do that. More often than not, your support players will be behind the rest of the team. You still have to keep yourself alive. So if the rest of your team is not reacting to what's going on, then trying to help them, if you're playing Life Weaver, you can try and help to reposition them with Life Grip. But if you see the rest of the team is just going to get eaten by that bomb, but you still have a chance to scoot around the corner, you probably still want to do that. You probably still want to keep yourself alive. If you're playing Mercy, there's a chance you might be able to get a resurrection on one of those. On one of those players after they've been eliminated from that ultimate ability. If the rest of your team is all able to get around this corner and move, you have to remember your fundamentals, your 101. We talked about the tank position and how the tank functions, and more often than not, the tank being the first one to engage, the tank having that larger health pool, and the tank having those defensive cooldowns, those abilities. So if you're all rotating, you know the whole team is going there. As you rotate, make sure that your tank ends up going out first. Stay behind that tank. Use them as a shield. It's their job. As soon as you're trying to move out of this position, don't just run out and be the first one out here as a support. Because again, there's every chance that they use that ability on purpose to get us all to reposition into a bad position that they are already ready to shoot at us from. If they're already looking in this direction, and I'm the first one around this corner, I've already been vaporized, I'm not going to be able to help the tank, I'm walking back from spawn. So when you're talking about rotating that combined team movement, it goes back to understanding the map, understanding the geometry of the map that you're using, understanding where does that corridor lead? Am I walking myself into a complete dead end? Do I walk around this corner and all of a sudden, oh no, there's the whole opposing team. I've got no direction out of here to escape from. Oh, there's a door. I better get out of here. Okay, I got covered. Now they can't see me. Right? It's important stuff. It's just basic 101s, but in Bronze, we see all the time, and people just don't understand. I have to try and take cover. I have to try and not walk into main and then start shooting. If you want to shoot at any of those characters, then great. Do that from behind this corner. You'll probably still be able to see them. It's okay. Do that.
You're better off with me.
So as supports, we're not only making sure to support our DPS, we're not only supporting our tank by trying to keep them alive, we're paying attention to our position, we're paying attention to their position, we're paying attention to the map geometry so we can understand where potential enemy flanks are coming from. We're trying to make sure we understand our team position as the team fight goes on. There's a chance that team fight can move, and we have to move with it. If our tank is out here and decides, well, I'm going in on this team fight, and just gets in the middle of this and starts swinging and blasting stuff, that's fine. Let's say this little post right here is our tank. That's great. Can we see that post from here? No. I can't heal it. I got nothing. Nothing. I can't provide any healing. Now, as soon as I stick my face out here to see this post, maybe I can throw healing at that, but also, you'll notice, the opposing team is all out here and they can see me. So, let's talk about a very important technique, utilizing cover as a support.
Take care.
If you have the ability to heal while just barely popping out from a round corner, keeping your cover, you'll notice I'm able to keep these two bots in one piece. The amount of time that my character model is exposed to any visibility, let's say that's the opposing tank over there, is very low. I'm only popping out for a split second. Now, there are lots of advantages to this. let's talk about a very important disadvantage. If you're peeking a corner and you're here and you just keep going and just keep healing, eventually the opposing team is going to see you peeking that same corner, and they're just going to start firing at the corner. They're just going to start firing here. And at some point, you're going to pop your head out, and there will already be rounds sizzling through the air, and you'll be eliminated. So, if you're trying to heal your team, and you see this team fight still happening, and you know you've popped out from behind this corner a couple of different times, it might be valuable to change your position just in that moment. You want to keep your awareness of your line of sight to your team to try and keep that support. The dog is barking. But you also want to keep that awareness of the line of sight of those opposing team members. This guy up here is on high ground, could be blasting me, just absolutely blasting me. That's not cover I had, right? This is more cover from that situation. But again, if you peek out from the exact same corner 400 times, eventually they'll just start throwing rounds at that corner, and you will get eliminated. It'll just happen. So you'll need to make sure and be mobile. Don't just sit at the exact same corner. Being able to come out from your cover and move to a different position and things, it takes a heads-up play to do that appropriately and make sure that you don't get eliminated. Because if you're walking back from spawn, it's zero value for your team. You're not helping them. You're not doing anything for them. There's no eliminations, no healing, no nothing. So if I'm behind this corner and I know that this enemy team is coming towards us, I'm trying to stay out of their line of sight. I'm trying to heal my folks. But at some point in time, we're going to have to move if the opposing team's amount of damage output, they use an ultimate or something, it just spikes. All of a sudden, there's a lot of damage. We've got to move. Well, I'm going to have to move across their line of sight. I could get shot. That's a great time to use some sort of mobility. If I'm trying to get across here and I don't want them to be able to see me, because if they can see you, they can shoot you, then I want to move in as many different ways as I can to get from point A to point B. I'm telling you right now, if all you do is run out here and run to the side predictably like that, that motion is super easy to hit. I mean, it's the same as one of these bots walking back and forth. It's super easy to hit. Even with Lifeweaver's goofy projectile thorns, they're only walking back and forth. It's a pretty easy motion to track. So if all you're doing is walking back and forth out of cover, you're trying to get out of cover, move to the other position, and move to the other cover, but all you're doing is walking, you're going to get shot because it's a really predictable motion. Moving from one piece of cover to another, again, it requires understanding the map geometry. It requires understanding your character's kit. And it's important to know other characters' kit. If you're trying to move from one piece of cover to another, and you've got all the movement capabilities and awesome, moves in the world, that's great. However, if you're facing an opposing Widowmaker, there's a chance that the moment you walk out from around that corner with whatever movement you've got means nothing. One shot. Gone. So if there's an opposing Widowmaker or something like that, understanding those things, understanding that you'll need to have cover from that one-shot potential is all very critical to helping make those right decisions, those smart decisions in those very difficult moments. You're in the middle of that team fight, all of a sudden the enemy tank jumps right in on top of your position. Everyone's throwing fire. There's a sniper somewheres up there. You have to make a choice. What do you do? If you're just standing there and you don't make a decision, that enemy tank is just going to have you walking back from spawn. Tank versus support is not typically going to pan out in your favor as a support player. Usually the tank is going to take you out. That's just kind of how that works. So being able to make those smart decisions in those moments where the team fight is just sort of going crazy around you requires the 101. It requires understanding your map, understanding your geometry, understanding your kit, understanding your team members, the synergy between them, making sure you understand where the team fight engagement is. There's a lot that goes into it. It's a bit more complex than people would give it credit for, even at a 101 level. even at a basic 101 level. So, to recap, support players are different. Support characters are different from your tank, different from your DPS role. Your job is not to absorb the damage. Your job is not to deal all the damage. Your job primarily is to heal the damage and keep people safe, keep them out of harm's way, help them to survive while they're doing their job. Making sure to have that sort of game awareness, that game sense of, this is the position I'm in. Did the opposing team just move into the position? Are they trying to flank me?
Some healing?
Being able to support your fellow supports, please throw some heals at your fellow supports. It's okay. It'll make them smile. It'll make them real happy to have support from their fellow supports. Gosh, what else? I don't know. Let's just go. Let's go into a match and play a support role match. I thought for sure the support role was going to be way more in depth than the other two, but it feels like I didn't even explain much. We'll initiate the flats imperative. Alright, flats imperative. Back in the old practice range, but now I've got the Cass, and I can have a drink of coffee. Let's refill that. I got this nice French press here next to me. Got a light roast going in it. Lots of flavor, lots of caffeine.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Okie dokie, we're here on Hollywood, and we're defending. Hello to everyone else in the old voice channel. I'm in the middle of streaming a mini-series I'm in the middle of doing called Overwatch 101. All right. So we've got a Widowmaker, we've got a Bastion, we've got an Ana, and myself playing Lifeweaver, and then our tank will show up here in a bit.
Keep in sight. I'll have
So
us in and out in no
let's
time.
talk about our 101. We were talking earlier about understanding the rest of our team, the synergy between them, the kit and all that stuff.
Throw them
The
into
Widowmaker
my
is sort of a solo specialist. Just lots of mobility, lots of verticality and all that. Not very good survivability, but that mobility and the verticality is great. Our Bastion doesn't have the mobility or verticality. The Ana doesn't have it either. Thankfully, I'm playing Lifeweaver, so I can offer verticality and mobility because of my kit, which is awesome. It's also a great way to sort of get a get out of jail free card with the life grip, especially when we're talking about a Basti. Yeah, Basti go burp. All right, we got an Orisa opposing us. Got some Hanzo out there. So I'm trying to make sure I'm in my position so that I can see my team, and so that the opposition cannot see me. Whoops. Now, we talked about our DPS characters and our tank characters and the differences between them, and the fact that the tank characters are the ones that have that larger health pool and the defensive cooldowns to try and make sure they survive that engagement, that early engagement on the team fight.
taking damage.
Life protects life.
Ooh, I coughed on my stream, sorry. So, I did not want the engagement to go that way, but in that moment I felt like if I offered some surprise aggression from an area they weren't sort of expecting, it might help turn the team fight. But it did not. There goes my Bastion again. Nope, that missed entirely.
Stay near.
Well, that didn't work. Alright, there's my Bastion. Now, right now, the Bastion is engaging in place of the tank. The tank is not out there. The Bastion does not have the same cooldowns or health pool as the tank, so healing that is going to be far more difficult, realistically speaking. Not the most advantageous position. Now that's me using my cooldowns to try and keep the team in one piece. Our Bastion had gotten low. I used a life grip. But because I was trying to hide from the remainder of the opposing team and keep these people on my team within my line of sight and heal them, I wasn't able to heal the tank because the tank was outside of my line of sight. And I could not rotate, change my position into a position where I could see him because fear of the enemy team, the opposing team, would vaporize me. So
Life protects life.
surprise aggression actually is something that I think is so much fun. I pretty much always do that when I throw my tree out. Yes, come to your ult. Thank you.
My tree's gone.
Like I was saying earlier, you can do just exactly that and nullify her ult entirely, which is beautiful. I love being able to use a little cooldown and toast someone's ult. There goes that. Every once in a while, as a support character, you definitely do need to just decide to shoot.
Time for spring. Lots more options from above.
Yeah, Basti, behind you is that jail. You can get on top of the permanent high ground there instead of that flower petal, which is going to go away. Basti must not be in the old voice channel. Okay, well, then let's do this. There's more than one way to go about it. Here you go, Basti. Thanks. One of the things I really like about Lifeweaver is you can actually elect to reposition your teammates, and boy howdy, when you got an IQ of 140, sometimes it's nice to have that on support repositioning you. How did you get killed up here, Basti? I don't understand that. What? You hit me with the spear up there? Yo! Yeah? That's cool. Go, go, Basti! Oh, my tank! Wow, alright. Cool beans. Well, cool beans. So now I'm repositioning with the team. Yeah, the rest of our folks all just sort of got eliminated. They're all walking back from spawn, which means I'm the only one standing out there. It means I'm the only target. They're definitely going to be able to hit the only target they can shoot at. That's just for sure. So.
Actuating the barrier.
All right, now we got a Sigma tank. More tanky than the old Doomfist.
Some healing. Safety in numbers.
Let's see. Soldier 72%. Thanks, Arisa. Appreciate you coming. Thanks for playing. Have a great day. Yeah, I'm just going to punch you. Did you think you were going to take me? Are you out of your mind? Yeah, come here with that. Get at it. You know what? I'm done with you. Yeah, I'm done with you. Bye-bye. Oh, asleep? What? Get out of here with that. Oh, everything is pocketed. Ah, I don't like it. Oh my, 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 oh my. No! That was a terrible, terrible, terrible situation. Ah, there we go. So, what happened in that round? Let's take a look. Well, this number and this number is not great. This is not especially great. This is also not especially good. And this right here, where'd my cursor go? Oh, there it is. Well, my cursor decided to evaporate on me. Now, let's take a look at that again. I'll go ahead and... So, what do we see here? This person managed to get 4 eliminations and died 5 times. During those 5 different I'm walking back from spawns, during the entire time they were there, they managed to heal for 4,000 health. I only died twice, and I managed to heal for 6,000. So the basic one-on-one fundamentals that I was talking about, trying to stay in cover and things like that, trying to keep yourself alive, trying to make sure that you're supporting your fellow supports, which you definitely saw me healing my fellow supports, providing them with, using my cooldowns, trying to keep them in one piece. Yeah, you definitely saw those things. Our Bastion was repeatedly running in as though it were the tank, and it were not the tank. It just I mentioned it while we were doing that. I'm saying, well, yeah, look at the Bastion, look at their position as far as this team fight goes. The other team had multiple members walking straight down the main thoroughfare next to the cart that they had to escort. At least 3 of them, and our Bastion goes in by himself. Without the tank health pool, without the cooldowns, the defensive cooldowns the tank has, well, the result is you're going to end up walking back from spawn. And you're not going to get very much value out of it. And that's kind of how that goes. Yes, let's talk about the interesting quirks in the reviews here. Every single time for the Lifeweaver guy, every single time, no matter how many Thorn Volley kills or Life Grip deaths prevented or any Tree of Life healing, every single time it will tell you new career best. I assure you, 3 kills in one match is not the best I've ever done. 1 Life Grip death, not the best I've ever done. Just below 1,000 Tree of Life healing, not the best I've ever done. I assure you it's not. However, the programming on this game, that's one of the quirks. Let's see. After the match, when you go to take a look for Echo, the DPS character, it'll tell you every single time that your sticky accuracy is 0%. If you hit tab in the game, it will tell you the actual percentage of accuracy. But after the fact, it will tell you 0% every time. That's just annoying. Just seeing that. It's super clear someone managed to not properly code something, and it's lazy. Sad. So I was healing at a 9,087 pace. Was that on average? Was that on average? I was just a smidge above average for the pace on that. Yeah, here's Lifeweaver for me. 123 hours. 2.45 average deaths. I had 2 deaths in that last round. Even though that last round was, in the terminology, stuffed, clearly. The Bastion wanted to engage. We had a Doomfist via a Orisa non-meta matchup. Not great. Average healing per 10 minutes of 9,000. Yay for the buff to Lifeweaver's tree. Granted, the tree itself does not heal for absolute boatloads, but that overhealing is just a beautiful thing. Still getting credit for some of that is great. Having a minor amount of overhealing For some of the other characters will be really nice too. I think Zenyatta could probably use that, but it's just me being a Zenyatta main. One of the things I also notice is that you go in and check on history. Our game reports will look at, so it shows the number of saves, shows our Thorn Volley kills, life grip deaths prevented, Tree of Life healing, self-healing. All those things are really important. Those are pertinent things to know. Like Tree of Life healing. You know, what's your average Tree of Life healing? Well, you'll note the extra expanded info for Lifeweaver doesn't show that. Doesn't even show Tree of Life. There's no category for Tree of Life. It's just healing. Just healing. Doesn't talk about life grips. Doesn't talk about your average life grip saves per match. I think that would be pertinent. That's a cooldown that you use. They have stats for Mercy for the number of reses that she used. That's a cooldown. That's, you know, all those things included. But it's very clear, not even having to poke that far in any of these things, that from the history section, it'll tell you, oh yeah, that's the most you've ever done. Let's actually look at eliminations. The best eliminations, 26. Clearly that's more than 3 or so that it said was my best from that last match, or 4 or whatever it was from the last match. You don't even have to dig into it that far to see the number of mix-ups in this and the lazy coding and stuff that's just borked. There's no other way to say it. It's just messed up. But yeah, we were talking about support main 101, Overwatch 101, Bronze 5, hard stuck. Hundreds and hundreds of hours put into the game and still just Bronze 5. So no, I'm not an expert. No, I'm not a professional. No, I'm not good, quote unquote, good at the game. Just my thoughts and opinions and feelings on the matter. Hopefully someone else will find it valuable to some degree, because I think it's information people should know. I want support players to know that supporting their fellow support is a good deal. I want tank players to know that, you know, using their cooldowns and keeping their team safe is important, but not just flying in for no reason. I want the DPS characters to know that providing peels for your support is good. Going on a flank is fine. You know, just don't run all the way to Narnia before you start shooting, or you know, go outside of the line of sight of your support team and then complain that you didn't get any heals, because that's just not how it works. Yeah, the basics 101, y'all. I think that'll be enough for this stream. Y'all have a great day.